believe so, Your Honor. I'm trying to actually locate the exhibit at this point. It was Exhibit 161, I believe, was shown to the jury. And was not one of the numbers that the state named. However, I'm having trouble locating that specific exhibit, so we can address that afterwards.
I left some up here.
I put them in order, so this is what I have as 161. Let's see.
Doctor, do you have any photographs there?
Here it is.
No.
Here it is. Okay. Oh, it didn't. So it didn't just, oh, okay. This is 161.
Okay. It was shown. And,
All right, Mr. Pagan, in light of that inherent situation, what's defense's position?
we agree that it was shown, and we have so it was authenticated, testified about, and we don't object to its admission.
All right. Then I will reflect my list, or I'll revise my list to reflect the 161 also likewise is admitted for the purposes of clarifying that situation. All right, everybody ready for the jury then?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson? All right, everybody, have a seat. Back on the record, State of Ohio, Mr. Lindsay Partin. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury is back. Any issues that I need to be aware of on the admonitions? Very good. Ms. Hiley, I believe at this time we are ready for redirect whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Doctor, you were handed defendant's exhibit D, and you kindly approach the witness with that. And you were asked about your response.
Yes.
What was that response? What were you responding to in that email? Without reading it aloud, if you could summarize, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. So you asked a question of me, as well as other doctors, and you wanted to know, did we agree with the way you...
Object. Object. I object to the inclusion of the document.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Just,
Inclusion. If you could limit specifically to yourself.
sure. So this email was sent to me with a question posed to me, asking me whether or not I agree with a sentence. I answered, yes, I did.
And did that email indicate to you where that information came from?
If it did, I don't recall.
If you need to review it to refresh your recollection, if you could.
So, I'm looking at my own part. You asking me about my own part. I don't think so.
You don't recall meeting with
No.
the State of Ohio?
No, I know I met with you. I just don't I didn't meet with any other physicians. I didn't
Okay.
go to any meetings.
So specifically, had you met with me prior to me sending that email?
Oh, sure.
Okay. And was that question something that I came up with then, or was that based on our prior meeting?
We talked about it initially.
All right. And then that email came out following that? I sent you an email, and you sent me a response following that meeting?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the meeting at Children's Hospital.
There's no question.
Non-responsive.
Yes.
Doctor, yeah, as we've gotten through this, when a question's asked, then you respond.
Sure.
Doctor, you were asked about the opinion of Dr. Spitz, and you said you had reviewed it.
Yes.
Do you recall what, if anything, from that report was said about the respirator?
Without quoting him word for word, I can't, but if I can look at his report, what he said to the effect was respirator brain. He used that phrase, respirator brain. I think he said something like, these findings can be seen in respirator brain, or words to that effect. I don't want to put words in his mouth or words in his letter without having it in front of me. I can read it to you if you wish.
No. So respirator brain. And do you have an opinion based on your findings as to whether or not this was respirator brain that you saw in Hannah's brain?
I do have an opinion.
And what?
We don't,
The way
understand it, and the way I use it is when a person has succumbed to an event, for example, a heart attack, and then lives on the respirator, the breathing tube, for a while, the brain swells and becomes very soft. As a result of the natural disease, the respirator helps the person breathe. The person is on the respirator for some time, brain swells, and the person eventually dies. That's how I see it. Now, I've seen this many, many times. If a person has a heart attack but doesn't die right away, they go to the hospital, have to be on a respirator, and then they finally succumb to the heart attack. I examine their brain, and it's very soft. This is not that.
What is the difference here?
A huge difference. For one thing, if a person has a heart attack and has to be on a respirator for a while, they don't have blunt impacts to their head. They don't have all the hemorrhages that I described within Hannah's brain. They do not have the hemorrhages within the eyeballs or in the sheaths in the optic nerves. They don't have any of that. They don't have the hemorrhage in the spinal cord or the brainstem. They don't have hemorrhage in the muscle deep in the neck, as I described for Hannah. What Hannah had was a traumatic brain injury. She was assaulted. A lot of force went through her brain, and that's what caused the brain swelling and the hemorrhages within it. Respiratory brain is something else. That's when a person succumbs only in part to a medical problem, so to speak, and needs to be in a respirator without brain trauma.
Doctor, without going to the specific content of what's in an investigative report, are you able to tell me in general what goes into one of your offices, the Hamilton County Coroner's Office's investigative reports?
Yes, so in our office we keep a database. We keep our records both electronically and on paper. We discard the paper after a certain period of time according to our retention policy. So in the database, in the computer, we have what's called a narrative section. If I were to go to a particular case, for example, Hannah's case, I would click on her case number, type it in, and her case would come up. Then I would go to the tab that says narrative, and what's in there? First section is the information received by the investigator from whoever calls the office to report the death. So what they put in there is the day it's reported, the time it's reported, who makes the report, and the basic circumstances as they understand it from who is reporting. And then whatever information is recorded after that, it gets a separate document. So for example, if I met with Ms. Holly, I would say, on such and such day, I met with Ms. Holly to discuss the findings of the case. That also goes in the narrative. So that's what I mean by the investigative report. The initial section is the investigative report in the narrative section, and other narratives are there too. So when you request it, if one were to request the narrative section for this case or any case, you would get the whole string of narratives. The investigative section first, and then everything else that's typed in afterwards is a separate document.
Dr. Mr. Pagan talked to you about the significance of the injury in State's Exhibit 76 and that marking that we saw there. Okay, it is there. Were you able to see that there?
Yes.
Based on what you saw in State's Exhibit 79 with that, does that marking on the back, the head in State's Exhibit 76 account for all of the injuries that you saw in State's Exhibit 79?
No.
How many separate impacts did you count on Hannah's head?
6.
Doctor, you were also handed Defendant's Exhibit C.
Yes.
In Defendant's Exhibit C, you were directed to page 389.
Yes.
And the last paragraph in the right-hand column, I believe Mr. Pagan read the first sentence to you and stopped.
Yes.
What is the remainder of that paragraph?
Head injuries in young children that result from shear forces to the brain causing DAI, let me explain DAI, diffuse axonal injury, are generally not associated with a lucid interval, especially if severe neurological injury or death results. This includes infants and young children who are victims of shaken baby impact syndrome. Neurological symptoms that are typically associated with traumatic axonal injury from shearing, continue?
Yes, finish the paragraph.
From shearing include an immediate decrease in the level of consciousness, seizure activity, respiratory irregularities, and apnea.
And doctor, with what you saw in Hannah, the injuries you saw in Hannah, are the injuries consistent with the remainder of that paragraph?
Yes.
PAI?
Yes.
If I may have just a moment. I have nothing further.
Ms. Peggy, across based on the redirect?
1 second. I think this is yours. Looks like your notes. Is that right? Is that not yours?
Oh, that's mine.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And then if you have Defense Exhibit D.
I do.
Here,
Sure.
Do you have Defense Exhibit C? Can I take a look?
Sure.
And before you do that, show me what you just read.
Okay. So I started head injuries in young children and ended up with apnea.
All right, you read the part about DAI, which is axonal injuries are not associated with lucid interval, right?
Right.
All right. You're aware, axonal injuries are injuries inside the brain?
Yes. So
Yes.
you mean diffuse axonal injury?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And did you see the report from Dr. Kari, the pediatric radiologist?
If I did, I don't recall
Okay.
what the specifics are in there.
Are you aware that her diagnosis was brain swelling only and did not reach DAI?
Okay, so?
Okay. And you're familiar with Dr. Spitz's report, correct?
Yes.
And he observed and diagnosed brain swelling only and not DAI, correct?
He said the only injuries to the brain are brain swelling, and that's not right.
Okay, so you just disagree with that?
Yeah.
All right. And the exclusion in Dr. Spitz's report of DAI and the only brain injury being brain swelling would be consistent with lucid interval under his interpretation under the treatise? Yes?
No.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Peggy, thank you.
Thank you.
Doctor, two things here. First of all, because of some discussions that we have had, and I don't know if Ms. Hiley's had the opportunity to talk to you about this or not, there's a possibility you could be subject to recall tomorrow. I suspect she will be in contact with you later about that issue. But because of that, I do need you to take particular care that you do not discuss your testimony with any other potential witnesses, and also to be available if that would in fact need to be the situation. Okay?
Your Honor, is there some way we can work this out? I swapped Cole.
No, I definitely don't, no, okay. I give the instructions, any issues that you need to work out, you need to go through Ms. Hiley and discuss those, and, you know, then the parties congregate and discuss those amongst ourselves. So, at this point, the doctor is excused off the stand and free to leave.
And if we may approach.
You may.
And I would ask that the witness stick around.
Sure.
Whatever floats your boat. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, and I know that this might not make a whole lot of sense, but we are going to take yet another 15-minute break. This might help alleviate some of the issues that the doctor was going to explain to me, but can only explain to me by counsel. That's why I did it that way. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. Make yourselves available out there in the lobby way at 3:30, 3:35. If we need a little extra time, we may have to take a couple more minutes. But we're anticipating that we're going to be fine scheduling-wise in terms of finishing on time tonight and so forth. So again, lanyards on, notebooks down, admonitions, no talking, no researching, etc. Okay? So with that, Doctor, also you are free to kind of wonder about if, again, you are still under oath, we may have to bring you back in. We may not. At this point, we don't know. Okay? Very good. Ms. Hiley, my understanding is that that other issue that we was planning on a contingency for earlier has been resolved. Does the state have any other further questions based upon the resolution of that issue?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Pagan?
Okay. Dr. Dean, despite rumor and innuendo about the inefficiency of public office, can we agree that your office expeditiously supplied us with the investigator report?
Excellent.
All right, I'm going to, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And I've labeled it Defense Exhibit E, correct?
Yes.
Have you looked at that?
Well,
Yes.
you gave it to him. Yes, I read this. Later. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right. So, and all I want to do is authenticate it. So,
Sure.
So E is the investigator report that you discussed when I asked you questions about it.
It also includes the other narratives as the case continues. So, yes.
Okay. And it's how many pages?
Printed out 2 and a little bit.
2 1/4, 2 1/10?
Sure.
Okay, all right. And it's a true and accurate copy?
Yes.
Okay, and it's what you actually read and reviewed and relied upon prior to testifying?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, and then you're listed as the investigator on 4/18/18?
Yes.
Okay. You're listed as the investigator on 6/20/18?
Yes.
And you're listed as the investigator on 3/15/19?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Dr. Dean, we are concluded with your testimony. Is she subject to recall for further purposes?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You are discharged from your subpoena. What's your step getting down? Please do not discuss your testimony with any other anticipated witnesses.
Thank you
Okay?
very much.
Your Honor, I apologize. I do wish
To keep her on recall.
to keep her on recall.
And ma'am, that doesn't mean that you necessarily will come back, but it means that you possibly could. So you would still be subject to your subpoena if that be the situation.
I
Okay?
understand. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Please.
You can just leave those here.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Hiley, I know sometimes dealing with expert witnesses, it's very hard to pinpoint with precision. Timing, it is 3:45. Does the state have any other witnesses anticipated for this afternoon?
Your Honor, we have one available, but I'm not sure the length of time that it will be. I don't know what the court wants to do on that.
What's
You know,
the-
realistically, I think the state could get through its portion in maybe a half an hour.
Of course, Mr. Vega at this point, or the defense, whoever would be doing the cross examination. Probably any rough idea?
I don't know who they're speaking of, so I could not provide that.
Deputy Mayor.
I probably have a half hour or more, maybe. I mean, you know I'm long. If you think Mr. Kagan's long, not yet experienced.
Given the nature of the testimony that we have heard over the course of the past 2 days, probably the jury's minds are a little bit tired, given all the technical evidence that's been presented. Folks, do you wish to break for the evening, or do you want to try to push ahead with one more?
I would say break.
Or do you guys really care? I heard one back here say break.
Break.
Break. I think the master is spoken. All right, very good. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and indulgence the past couple of days. So far, everything is going, I think, probably pretty much as we were expecting. Please leave your lanyards and your notebooks. Again, they will be secured and taken care of. Also, please, very important, the admonitions, no discussing this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else, including family members, friends, neighbors, co-workers, whatever. No researching, no, now that you've got some medical terminology in your head, no researching those types of issues, nothing about the case, so forth. Just go home, sit in front of a television, don't watch the news, watch something fun, no offense to the media, and just veg out, and we'll be back here like we've been doing. Try to start congregating about 8:45 outside. We'll be watching for you. We'll take care of the accommodations accordingly, and try to get started as close to 9 o'clock as possible. So with that, have a good evening.
Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow.